I'm Doug Keck. We're here at the Catholic Marketing Network in Chicago, and Bookmark on location with one of our good friends, of course, Donna-marie Cooper O'Boyle. She's always got books. She's got two of them this time. Our Lady of Fatima, 100 Years of Stories, Prayers, and Devotions, and also Our Lady's Message to the Three Shepherd Children and the World. Donna-marie, always
Doug.
a pleasure to see you. Bring light to our show here.
Thank you.
On location here in Chicago. And of course, we are in the 100th anniversary year of Our Lady of Fatima. In fact, you will be one of the speakers, depending on when this airs, or had been a speaker at our family celebration. That's happening in September. It was also talking about Our Lady of Fatima.
Yes.
What's your connection with Our Lady of Fatima?
Wow. Well, she's the Mother of God, right? So she should be connected to me and all Catholics, right? So my connection, well, I wrote those two books for the anniversary year and beyond. I've always been so close to the Blessed Mother, and I just feel it's so important to spread, like Pope Benedict said, to learn the message, to live the message, and to spread the message.
Right.
So the faithful really need to spread the message in any way that we can.
And what's the message? We hear about the secrets, we hear about the message. Even EWTN, we've done this month by month, message by message.
Right.
But if you boil it down and said we need to spread the message, what do you mean by that?
Well, Our Lady asked us, to pray the daily rosary. The rosary is so important. It's about conversion, but not just like a once in a lifetime conversion, a conversion of heart. Like every day we should have a conversion of heart. So prayer, penance, the daily rosary, and to pray for sinners. We might not want to pray for people who do, us harm or something like that, but Our Lady stressed to the three shepherd children the importance of praying for sinners, because she said so many go to hell because there's nobody to pray for them. So that's like the main part of Our Lady's message, to convert our hearts by the grace of God, to pray and to offer penance.
And the forward is by our good friend, your good friend, Father Andrew Apostoli, who's obviously an expert on Fatima. He said, we must all respond to Our Lady's request if there will be world peace. In order to do this, we must know the message of Our Lady clearly so that we can respond wholeheartedly. And he talks about in this book, and the stories that you have in the book, you say, there are stories of the effect the Fatima message has had on people's lives. Plus, and this was interesting, of course, makes it a little different, fascinating stories of St. Mother Teresa of Calcutta.
Right.
How do you connect in? We know about your background with her. Did Mother Teresa have a connection with?
Well, she was so devoted to Our Lady of Fatima, and a lot of it didn't come out till after her death. Right. But I learned such an interesting fact about her during my research and the writing of my Fatima books. She was instrumental in like a secret mission on the day of the consecration on St. John Paul II, consecrated the world to Our Lady, to Our Lady's Immaculate Heart. Right. Mother Teresa wanted to get a blessed miraculous medal into the Kremlin on the very day and the very time.
Right. That's
so I have a whole
story
in there, and it's just an amazing story. We're all connected. We're all linked together.
Right. You're undercover going on.
She had an undercover mission. I have every detail in there.
In the book, right? That was kind of interesting to find that out, and you talk about that here. Now, what does it mean to you? I mean, personally. I mean, growing up was Our Lady of Fatima. I happen to be somebody who in 5th grade read a book on Our Lady of Fatima, my 5th grade class, and I kind of got introduced to it, and I have to say, Fatima's always probably been my most favorite apparition. I've always had a fondness for the children, especially Jacinta.
Oh, me too.
Because she reminds me of my daughter.
Sometimes she brings tears to my eyes when I talk about her sometimes because of her heroic virtues and her sacrifice.
Saint Jacinta now, right?
I know, Saint Jacinta. I have her relic right in here.
Okay, that's great. Right, so now in this we talk about the point you make out about the background of Fatima, which you hear once in a while. According to tradition, in 1158, a powerful Muslim prince was captured by a crusader, and the princess handed daughter in marriage. His daughter's name was Fatima, or Fatima, and became a Christian and was baptized. And so I know Archbishop Sheen, and that's where Father Andrew makes a connection there. In a sense with this. What's that connection?
Right. Well, I wrote about it because I researched it from both of them, but I couldn't retell it as well as like Father Andrew would. But it's just amazing, the Muslim people and Fatima, and how it is connected and how we need to pray, for peace in the world and for Our Lady's, requests to to be fulfilled.
Right, so it's not just about Russia.
Right.
And the convert. It really is about...
It's about every single soul
Right.
and the whole world. Like every soul to be converted. And so Jesus will reign once again.
Right. Now, we have confidence because we've experienced it in our own lives,
Right.
and we've been blessed to have wonderful teachers like Mother Angelica. But some other people might say, why should anyone believe what is said to have happened at Fatima, Portugal, in 1916 and 17? Can we trust the claims of these 3 peasant children?
Right. Well, technically it's a private revelation, but our church emphasizes the truth in this private revelation.
And when you make that stipulation of a private revelation versus public revelation, what do you mean?
Public revelation is everything that the church teaches officially and tradition.
Right.
And the private revelation is still in line with the teaching of the church, but it happens possibly through an apparition. And the apparition has to be thoroughly scrutinized before it's approved. And then still, you're not... you don't have to believe it.
Right. I think that's something that sometimes people don't understand as well, is that even if an apparition is approved, you could decide that, for whatever reason, I don't really believe it, or it's not something that I find important. Because again, isn't this kind of thing always designed to help people in their faith walk?
That's it, right.
And if it's interfering with your faith walk, then you're misunderstanding.
Right. And it shouldn't interfere, but we're not going to force it on anyone. We're not forcing anyone to believe this, but we know from heaven sent our Blessed Mother, so we know we could trust her, and we want to carry out the messages because we know it's going to lead us to heaven and help us to bring others to heaven. Right.
And you also mentioned, of course, everybody hears about the third secret, penance, 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 and the idea it was kept secret, but it was really at a point in time when they were afraid in the 40s, where Sister might die, that they asked for the third secret to be totally at least written down. Right?
Yes, and then it was kept secret still, but it was all written down. And Sister Lucia has attested to the fact that the whole secret has been revealed.
Right.
Some people think, the Vatican is, keeping it under. It's been revealed, and she also said that the consecration was done to satisfy Our Lady. It took time, but it was done, and we need to do our part now with the daily rosaries and the 5 First Saturday devotion. And
and not get caught up in these kind of internecine kind of situations with, again, our Lord is in charge.
Yes.
Our Lady, if Sister Lucia is good enough for me, because at least she saw Our Lady. That hasn't been my experience so far.
Right.
Now, you write this book, Our Lady of Fatima, 100 Years of Stories, Prayers, and Devotions. You've also got a little book here, Our Lady's Message to the 3 Shepherd Children and the World. Now, it's illustrated by an Anne Engelhardt.
Yes.
Who's Anne Engelhardt?
Okay, she's a wonderful illustrator, and after I wrote the first Fatima book, I felt so passionate about, I felt deeply inspired to tell the story to children. So it's not a simple children's book, it's a chapter book.
Right.
But
then it's not like a little book with See Jane Run here kind of a thing.
And I say it's for like 7-year-olds to 107 because adults are reading it as well and saying they're learning so much. So to make a long story short, I felt I really need to write that book, but I didn't know how it was going to happen. In the anniversary year already, I wrote the book in 3 weeks.
Really?
Sophia Institute Press right away wanted to do it. I was able to find this
and we
one.
like Sophia Institute Press.
Yes. And Anne, the illustrator, I worked very closely with her to put a beautiful image, knowing that's important to children, at every chapter. And so she's a marvelous artist.
One thing I noticed right at the beginning too, and again, our good old friend Father Andrew shows up once again as always.
Yes.
But in the fact that he has at the beginning is a note to parents, grandparents, teachers, and guardians. And he goes on to say, surely the message made a profound impact on her, meaning on Jacinta.
Yes.
He's talking about Jacinta here.
Yes.
It has been said that if an idea is impressed on the mind and the heart of children before the age of 7, they will never forget it. We need to bring our children to marry at a tender age so that, as with Jacinta, our Blessed Mother's message may have a profound impact on them and guide them throughout their formative years. And that's why I think it's really, really important, especially as we look to many times the parents and especially I think the grandparents
Yes.
who have a great opportunity to inculcate these kinds of ideas
Yes.
and spirituality of the faith and information, and use this as a teaching moment.
Exactly.
Because many times they're spending a lot of time babysitting and looking
Exactly.
after the
And
children.
They could read
their grandkids,
read
right?
the book to the children. A pastor at Our Lady of Fatima parish even told me he's going to use that for his curriculum to the kids in the school, and so I felt very honored and blessed
Right.
to learn that. So
Now, the way you put this together at all, also you've got something to think about.
yes.
At the end of each section. Whose idea was that?
Well, it was mine, and it kind of might sound funny, something to think about, but that's what I thought, kids might grasp onto. In my first Fatima book, I did the reflections at the end to make it like an armchair pilgrimage,
Okay.
and give them things to think about and pray about. And then in this book for the children, it's along the same lines, to apply those things they learned in that chapter to their own lives and challenge them. Can you pray a decade of the Rosary with your family, even if
Right.
you can't pray the whole Rosary?
Right.
Can you, make a sacrifice, a little
Right.
sacrifice, maybe one little sacrifice a day for poor sinners?
Right.
So we want to teach the children now, while they're little, and really seize that moment to
Right.
teach them and help them.
And in this one here, you talk about when Lucia was older, she recalled that as a little girl she used to listen carefully to her mother's teachings.
Yes.
She also had happy memories about her mother's lessons. And you say, do you listen intently to your parents, grandparents? Because of course when we're going through it, we don't want to really listen.
Right.
And maybe years later we realize how important it is.
And so I'm trying to let them know now it's important.
Right. It's also interesting too, because you always think about Maria Rosa in the story as it relates to Lucia being the tough one, questioning, Lucia, why are you saying this? This can't be true.
Right.
But you can see how important she really was to the formation
Yes,
of
exactly.
Lucia as a child.
And she was the spokesperson, of all
Right.
three, and during the apparitions, and she lived a very long, almost 98 years old when she died. Our Lady said, you'll be here a while longer.
Right.
That while was a long while. And she
Right.
had work to do.
Right.
As Father Hardin would say, there's work
I was
to be
going
done.
to say, you've got, and here, there's work to be done. That's on page
Oh, yeah,
118,
I
which I
forgot
had
even.
opened up to right here. And I had to say, you had to get your
I
good friend
forgot.
Father Hardin in there.
That's good. Wow. I didn't even realize that was there.
That's right. Okay, so thank you so much. We're
thank you
just
so
out of
much.
time. Always great for you to stop by here at the
Thank
Catholic
you.
Marketing Network. And it's Donna-marie Boyle, 2 books, Our Lady of Fatima, 100 Years of Stories, Prayers and Devotions, of course, and also a beautiful little book, Our Lady's Message to 3 Shepherd Children and the World, all available through the EWTN Religious Catalog, EWTNRC.com. Thanks for joining us. And we're here at the Bookmark booth at the Catholic Marketing Network and are joined by author Marge Fenelon with Our Lady, Undoer of Knots, a Living Novena guided meditation from the Holy Land. Nice to see you, Marge. How are you?
Doug. Very well,
So we
thank
know
you.
with our present Holy Father, he had a great devotion to Our Lady, Undoer of Knots, which he came into when he was in Germany. And he followed with that, and he talked about it early in his pontificate. And a lot of people started praying that. So how did you get involved with it? Was it from that?
No, actually not. I knew of Our Lady Undoer of Knots from, it was our parish pastor.
Really? Okay.
Years ago. And he gave us a dare. He said, try this. It's a powerful novena.
Right.
Try it. And I took the dare, and it worked. It was, I got
will
an
tell
answer.
you personally that I found that in praying to that novena and praying, that there were things that I would describe as being tangled up that seemed to untangle themselves.
Yes, and
know?
I hear that. I love it when people write to me. I ask
Right,
people if you
right.
read the book, write to me. I'm online. You can find me
Right.
because I'd like to know what happens when they pray the novena, and that's
Right.
the same kind of thing. This feeling of knots beginning to loosen,
Right.
almost as if you could physically feel the
Right.
loosening,
Right.
over and over again.
Or
It's
things that
fantastic.
seemed like they were all bollocksed up or tangled up
Right.
suddenly start taking care of themselves and they
Yeah.
drop away, and you're like,
Yes.
oh, this is nice.
Yes.
This thing I thought I had to be all worried about, turned out
Process.
I didn't. Now,
Yes.
this is called Our Lady Undoer of Knots, a living novena. What's the difference between a novena and a living novena?
Well, a Living Novena, as far as I know, according to my publisher, I'm the only one who's doing this. This is something that I came up with.
Okay.
And I should say the Blessed Mother did and gave me the idea for sure. But a Living Novena is what we've got here is we have part armchair pilgrimage and part devotional.
Okay.
So this particular book is based on a trip that I took to the Holy Land while our Holy Father was there. I went with the Catholic Press Association.
Oh, okay.
And when the trip, Doug, it was given to me. It was a gift.
Well.
I couldn't do anything other than share that gift, and so I didn't know how I was going to share it. But while I was there, every place we stopped, I wrote tedious notes.
Really?
Anything and everything that came to me, every impression, every little fact I could pick up, and went home. And the long story short is this is what happened. I started praying and thinking, what do I do with this? How do I share it with others?
Okay.
How do I take people with me to the Holy Land so that they could experience that same trip? And this idea, because of his devotion, because of my own connection with Our Lady and Doer of Knots, it seemed to all come together in this idea of a living novena, which means it is a novena. We pray the 9 days of the novena, and each day of the 9 days we stop and meditate on a different place in the Holy Land, a different Holy Land site.
And why was it important? Did it just happen to be happenstance? I mean, you know, in the sense that it happened in the Holy Land and you tied it into that, or do you think that was an important part of what this is?
Oh, what a great question. I haven't been asked that one yet. I think there was a message for me personally in putting this together, and I'm finding it's a message for the world.
Really? Okay.
It's an interesting thing how the historical events after that book came out. We know there's some really not so great things happening in the world. Those were unfolding just after this book came out. So I hope that I was used as an instrument to focus on those are the roots of our faith right there.
It says you kind of, in a sense, came up and talked about a formula in doing this. What do you mean a formula? That sounds a little maybe overly concocted, versus something that naturally came to you. What do you mean formula?
Well, the word formula was applied after it was created, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But you need names when you're doing marketing and you're trying to explain to people what this book is about. What is this thing? Right. So it was that whole idea that Living Novena is to go through and journey in two different ways. Journey physically, mentally with the trip, and then journey deeper spiritually. So it's a formula. Yeah, I know. It feels really kind of placked on there, but it's not meant to be that way.
Well, it's interesting, too, because you tie it to it, and you at day one, Bethany, beyond the Jordan, not of injustice, not of separation. So how did you come up with those individual knots? Are those tied into the original devotion to Our Lady on Doer Knots, or are those ones that you kind of developed?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So they came to me. They came to me as I was reviewing my notes. And where did these idea of the 9 different knots, why these knots? Because these are knots that are recurrent themes in my life, the lives of people I love and know, and people who would write to me, things in the news, they just kept coming up. So I call them universal knots. Because if that's not you, it's somebody you know, or it has been you, or maybe it will be you, hopefully not.
Right, sure.
No pun intended. But,
no, I understand.
That's where they came from. So because I wanted to reach the greatest number of people with my one little book.
And how did you go about associating each one with a location? I mean, in a sense, did you have injustice, separation, confusion, and then found the location that kind of matched that? Or did you have the location
and find out? It was a little of both.
Okay.
Sometimes I would just know, here's this knot, or here's that knot. Sometimes I would have to pray. It was a lot of prayer. It was fasting. It was secluding my poor family, secluding myself. And it's like, leave Mom alone for a while. Mom's got to really pray. And I really asked the Lord, what's surfacing here? What do we need to address here? Some of it just has to do with the things historically that happened at that site that reminded me of that knot. Or maybe scripture or some of the things that the Holy Father said at that place when he was at that site. And it seemed to kind of unfold into whatever that particular knot was.
And you have here in the I think this is Diana von Glahn, our friend. She wrote the preface, right, the forward here,
yes.
but also then in the introduction later on where you yourself talk about the idea that with Pope Francis, and I was mentioning earlier, later on doing knots, let us allow the Holy Father's word to encourage us. Do I ask Mary to help me trust in God's mercy to undo those knots, to change? She, as a woman of faith, will surely tell you, get up, go to the Lord, He understands you. And she leads us by the hand as a mother, our mother, to the embrace of our Father, the Father of mercies.
I'm overwhelmed sometimes when I read back what God gave me to write in that. But it's, there are three main things that I really would like to see happen with this book, and that is to pray for peace in the world, in our homes, and in our hearts. That's very dear to me, because I really think the peace out there begins right here.
Right.
It begins in our hearts, and so we have to start working on ourselves, and that's part of the formula for the book. Let's start right here, and then work outward.
And I think it's very good for modern day, because a lot of us feel that we're going to problem solve ourselves. We're going to fix this and worry about it.
Yes.
And we forget about our Lord saying, why you're not adding one day by all your worry. And in a sense of the praying and saying, I need your help, Our Lady, can you intercede for me? These issues, I can't fix these things. Right. You know what I mean? And take them away from me if they're things I shouldn't have to be concerned about, or maybe being even overly scrupulous about, right?
Yeah, and I think trust is a big part of it. I know for myself, a lot of that book is written because of things, my own spiritual journey. But we give the nod. I should better speak for myself. I give the nod to the Blessed Mother, and I think, I can't do anymore. Here, Mother, please do. And then 5 minutes later, it's like, no, give it back to me. I'm going to do it.
Wait a second. Or sometimes
like,
it gets handled in a way that, that's not how I really wanted it handled.
Not that part of the knot. Do this other one first.
Other one, right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, very good. So, Our Lady on Doer of Knots, a Living Novena guided meditation for the Holy Land. Marge Fenelon, thank you so much for your time, for stopping by here.
You're welcome.
At the Catholic Marketing Network in Chicago.